Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs, and you can find me on Instagram at Boxing Time with Evan. And I was gonna maybe do the Lomachenko Sosa fight that's coming up, and I think I'll just do that one next. This weekend's been a busy weekend. Normally, I like to do 2 to 3 podcasts, two to three simulated fights. But today it's only going to be one, and I just figured, I really was inspired by Tony Bellew's victory over David Haye. I thought that was just awesome. Don't get me wrong, I love David Haye, but I just love seeing when a guy that people don't think is going to win comes out and wins. So I just had a thought, what would happen if he fought a prime Lennox Lewis? So I went on to the old stats on BoxRec and also around the internet and kind of culled together a prime Lennox Lewis versus Tony Bellew. As you can see, Lennox is a 7-5 favorite. This is a 12-round fight. 3-minute rounds, 10-point must system, no mandatory 8 count, 3 knockdown rule waived. And then if you go back here, you'll see that I'm doing Bellew right after he fought David Haye. I don't know if Bellew's in his prime, but I figure he's probably feeling pretty good. So let's have him fight that version of Lennox Lewis. There's a 7-year age difference. Although obviously Lennox Lewis is older than Tony Bellew by I think 18 years now. Lennox Lewis has a 2-inch height advantage. I made David Bellew 213. That was the weight that he was when he beat David Haye. And there's a 10-inch reach advantage. As you can see, Bellew's had 29 fights, 2 losses, and Lennox Lewis at that point in his career was 21-0. So let's just get right to it. A super fight, simulated fight that will never happen, but we can enjoy it online. David Haye versus Tony Bellew, or Bellew. Tell me if I'm saying his name correctly, and enjoy. Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen, David Haye on the right side. I'm sorry, Lennox Lewis on the right side of the screen. As you can see, Lewis trying to get behind that jab. I think hoping that Tony Bellew comes to him and Lewis could carve him up that way. We'll see. Lennox Lewis, for all of his great traits, and believe me, there were many traits. Lennox Lewis, his chin was always suspect all throughout his career. If you hit him hard enough and you hit him right, and you could say this of any fighter, he would go down. But he only had 2 losses, so he was very good with his defense. And I think that his style was something that Vladimir Klitschko really used to good effect. And it makes sense because they both have the same trainer, the late Emanuel Stewart. Coming out now, you see Bellew's going to the body. One thing that I brought up before, I brought it up when I did the simulation of Tony Bellew versus David Haye. I did a version of that fight, the first version that I did. Tony Bellew, in a very scrappy fight, knocked out David Haye, knocked him cold, and I want to say the 11th or 12th round. What happened was, as I was uploading that to YouTube, I just wasn't thinking, and I deleted it. So then I redid the fight, and David Haye won the rematch. So who knows? Maybe if they rematch, David Haye will win the rematch. These two guys right now are certainly going for it. And Tony Bellew is doing his best to be scrappy and land, and Lennox Lewis is trying to set traps and whatnot, and Tony Bellew, if he can force the fight, Lennox Lewis is the bigger man. Although he is fighting the prime Lennox Lewis, I really gave him a tall order. I maybe should have had him fight a Lennox Lewis, the Lennox Lewis that got the victory over Vitaly Klitschko. That might have been fair, but I figured, what the heck, it'll be a fun fight. And I've noticed, that I've been, when I put up fights with British fighters, whether it be Kell Brook or Tony Bellew, the British people, the British fans come out and they come online and they seem to take an interest in it. So I figured, why not just give you guys one for the fans? Who knows? Maybe I could have Frank Bruno rematch Lennox Lewis. Maybe I could have Gary Mason fight Lennox Lewis again. Although I believe Lennox Lewis obliterated Gary Mason, I think in 8 rounds or something. I don't fully recall. Tony Bellew doing good work, keeping Lennox Lewis in the corner. That strategy worked very well for Hasim Rahman. He knocked out Lennox Lewis in 4 rounds doing that. Ultimately, though, I think Rahman hit harder. And he was also fighting a Lennox Lewis, not the best Lennox Lewis, as Lewis proved in the rematch with a highlight reel knockout of Hasim Rahman. In the final 10 seconds of the first round. And, I give it, just on aggression, I give it to Tony Bellew. We'll see what the judges have to say. they disagree with me. Apparently they disagree with me. They don't think Tony Bellew did that much, and they both give it to Lennox Lewis. So Lennox Lewis, after one round, is up by 5 points. He goes out and he's getting behind his stick, being very, very patient. And, you know, it's a good, this is, you know, if the fans want, if you guys want it, let me know. By the way, if there's other fights that you want to see on Boxing Time TV, please direct message me or send me comments about fights that you want to see. I would love to make them. I try my best to make as many of them as possible. Although, you know, there's so many fights now in boxing that are being made, thankfully, that, you know, I like to try to do simulations of them. And I'm sort of ahead on the simulations, although, in some ways, although I am looking forward to doing Lomachenko Sosa next week. Man, these two guys are trading, and I thought I saw Tony Bellew get wobbled by Lennox Lewis. This is going to be interesting. If I'm Tony Bellew, I go to the body. Because if he wants to be in it for the long haul, when he got the scrappy victory, when I did the simulated fight and he got the scrappy victory versus David Haye, the body shots were what got it for him. Man, these two guys are landing a lot of leather on each other. It is, this is a tall order to be sure, but a good, you know, I think Tony Bellew could do it. You know, I think he has that spunk and that drive that he can get things like that done. Things that maybe he shouldn't be able to get done, he can get them done. Going to the body nicely against Lennox Lewis. Lewis trying to create more distance, land punches from a far off distance. Oh, look at those two uppercuts from Tony Bellew. You know, he's coming up from cruiserweight, and, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, how much of the power he brought with him. These two are trading, you know, viciously here. So we'll see. As we have Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen, Lennox Lewis on the right side of the screen. You are watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. You can please find me on Instagram at Boxing Time with Evan. I'm really happy to also see, I don't know if this was always the case, my link is clickable from Instagram. So if you're on Instagram and you want to see a simulated fight, because I sometimes do little, you know, funny commercials for them, you can just click that link, come to the page on your phone, tablet, whatever you're watching on, and you can watch Boxing Time TV anywhere. Oh, look at that, Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis is being very, very patient. Just trying to set Tony Bellew up. Tony Bellew being scrappy, trying to press Lennox Lewis. We're ultimately going to see, you know, if that's enough. If what he's doing is enough to break down Lennox Lewis in some way. If he can crowd Lennox Lewis, make it so Lennox can't land those hard punches, we will see. Lennox Lewis has a cut over his eye. Things are getting very, very interesting, folks. Tony Bellew is losing. He's behind, although he did even it on that one judge's scorecard. He has a cut over his eye. If Tony Bellew can make something out of that cut, I'm telling you, he could pull off an upset here. This is where things get interesting in this game. This is why I love CRA Championship Boxing so much, is that this game is unlike any other boxing game in that, you know, based on size, based on stats, in a regular boxing game, Tony Bellew should have been knocked out. But because this game is so much like real boxing, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, how ahead you are. It doesn't matter how many punches you land. There's no super punch. There's no cure-all that can end the fight. Anything can happen, and anything often does happen when you are playing Sierra Championship Boxing and watching Boxing Time TV on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Tony Bellew really trying to land on that punch, although Lennox Lewis seems more intent now at keeping him at bay. Man, Lennox Lewis landing some hard punches. Oh, Bellew he's landed 2 uppercuts on that punch. I think he's landed a left hook. Lennox Lewis doing well from a distance. Let's see if Tony Bellew can get him back up against the ropes. Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is it's almost like a David versus Goliath situation. Tony versus Lennox. Oh, Tony landing another hard right hand. Man, but Lennox Lewis, his punches just seem to have so much more power. Tony Bellew he's just taking a lot of punches. Look at this. I mean, how much can he take? He is such a tough, gritty competitor. You know, you see that in his fights. He put that on the big screen. That showed really well in the Rocky fights. So, you know, I'm sorry, when he was in Creed. I thought he was really well. I thought he was really good in that movie. Oh, go into the body. Surrendering the final minute of this, the third round. Lennox Lewis getting behind the jab. Tony Bellew standing just outside of it, not getting hit by those shots. Very, very smart, making Lewis expend energy. You know, this is sort of like a reverse rope-a-dope. He's coming forward and letting Lennox just kind of throw the punches, and we'll see. We'll see. Although Lennox just landed right there. And oh! Tony Bellew lands a hard left hook and a body shot and drops Lennox Lewis. Who would have thought we would have seen that coming? Wow, a prime Lennox Lewis, and Tony Bellew once again defying all the odds, just like he did against David Haye. Wow, what a fight. What a truly incredible contest we are seeing here. No matter what happens, I'm not going to delete this as it's uploading like I did accidentally the last time. Tony Bellew surprising everyone in an incredible performance that slowly, it looks like, is he taking over this fight? Has he turned Lennox Lewis's tools against him? Let's see what the judges say. Wow, Tony Bellew roaring back into this fight, only behind by 4 points now as we go into the fourth round. He's gonna want to do more of this stuff. He's gonna want to be more cagey. Oh man, what an incredible turn of events we're having here. As Tony Bellew, we're settling in right now. Oh, and he's where he's having a lot of success is he's punching, or after the punches of Lennox Lewis. He's sort of letting Lewis extend himself, and he's catching him. And he's standing close enough where he's making the punches count. Oh, look at that. Tony Bellew now presses him against the ropes. Oh, hopefully, you know, that's the one thing is I think this is, you know, this plays into the hands of Lennox Lewis. If Tony Bellew can land the hard shots, if Tony Bellew feels emboldened coming forward, Lennox Lewis can crack him coming in and counter him, just like he did right there. Wow. What an incredible performance. Both guys, no quit neither fighter. Him slamming him up against the ropes. Wow, you are in the fourth round of a simulated bout between Tony Bellew and Lennox Lewis. Oh, Lennox Lewis hurts Bellew. But Bellew recovers. He steps away. He doesn't give Lewis the chance to come back. Wow, what an incredible back and forth fight. Man, this is really becoming, this is a contest. I didn't think it would be this close at all. I thought a prime Lennox Lewis. You know, in some ways, Tony Bellew might be easy picking, but you just never know in boxing. And that's what Tony Bellew gratefully showed us against David Haye, and he's showing us here right now against Lennox Lewis. Oh, Tony Bellew just punching, you know, in between the punches of Lennox Lewis. You are watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. Please follow me on Instagram at Boxing Time with Evan. Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen, Lennox Lewis on the right. Both guys are waging war right now. Waging war as Tony Bellew pushes Lennox Lewis into the corner, but Lennox Lewis fights his way out of it, landing with a hard. I believe that it was a left hand that got Tony Bellew's attention. Just Lennox Lewis was not able to follow up the way that he probably would have liked to. Oh, we'll have to see what the cut situation is. Oh, he goes to the body there again on Lennox Lewis. Wow, Tony Bellew it's just amazing. It's amazing what we're seeing from him now. He's just, each two punches as Lennox Lewis doing everything that he can to reestablish his dominance. Lewis is still up on the cards. And so it remains to be seen. But Tony Bellew's scrappy enough, if there's no quit in the guy, and very well, you know, could be scrappy enough to continue to pull this off, even though Lennox Lewis clearly does not want that to happen, and he wobbles Bellew there with a straight right hand. Oh, Bellew taking those punches as the round ends. Let's see what the judges say. Wow, Tony Bellew was really hurt. They're saying that he's tired. They're saying that Lennox is tired. Man, Lennox Lewis won that round. Wow. What an incredible contest. And now Tony Bellew is down by 7 points. Both these guys coming out in the center ring. Oh, Lennox Lewis just hammering home, but Tony Bellew's still in the mix. Still in the mix. Oh, Lennox Lewis is driving that right hand home, crashing it into the skull of Tony Bellew. Oh, look at that. Oh, man. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. He's jabbing. He's just Lennox Lewis trying to create openings to land those shots. He kind of has Tony Bellew in a rut right now. Tony Bellew needs to change certain things about his style. He needs to have Lewis extending himself. He needs to make Lennox Lewis extend himself because Lennox Lewis is finding the keys to victory. Oh, as Tony Bellew lands 2 hard uppercuts to the head of Lennox Lewis. And Lennox Lewis is cut. If that cut turns into a gash, they could stop this fight. And if they stop this fight, Tony Bellew, behind on points or not, is the winner. Wow. Oh, Tony Bellew just walks into those 2 shots, just like I was saying. Lennox was finding his zone. Oh, man. Reminiscent of the Hasim Rockman fight. Oh, but Tony Bellew gets up, and he just begins where he started off. He needs to take a backward step. He can't stand right in front of Lennox Lewis like this again. This is the kind of it's oh man. He needs to take a backward step, but that's the thing about Tony Bellew. There's pride, there's the country, there's the screams of the fans. It's a totally different kind of event. Oh man, this is Tony Bellew's gotta figure something out. He's got to do a reboot here because Lennox Lewis just drilled him to the canvas, and it looked for all intents and purposes like Tony Bellew was on his way to scoring a major upset, but Lennox Lewis is certainly getting behind his jab now. Oh, and he wobbled Tony Bellew again. Tony Bellew's hurt, and Tony Bellew stays with it. He just needs to get out of the way of those punches. He needs to take a step back more. Right now, Lennox Lewis has him in the zone, and we're seeing a tremendous contest as it is now with Lennox Lewis pulling ahead in this fight. Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen, Lennox Lewis on the right. You are watching Boxing Time TV. Let's see what the judges say after this brutal 5th round. Oh, man. Tony Bellew does not look good. He lost that round 2 points on all judges' scorecards. Tony Bellew down by 13 points on all the judges' scorecards. Oh, man. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, Tony Bellew wants to do a restart, wants to do a reboot, wants to remain in this fight. And you know what? And until he's counted out or until he loses a decision, I'm never going to believe that it's over for him. But man, once again, the tall order becomes even taller as he has an alert, he has a ready Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis is just ready to pounce. Tony Bellew trying to shorten the distance, wants to go to the body some more, wants to land on Lennox Lewis, wants to get closer and smother those punches. That's the thing, is Lennox Lewis did a great job in the 4th and the 5th of keeping Tony Bellew at the end of his punches. Tony Bellew landing a nice uppercut there. That's the one equalizer here, is that Tony Bellew is still landing punches. He's still in this fight, and it's incumbent upon him. Lennox Lewis is not landing those shots right there, but it's a rangefinder, and it's upsetting Tony Bellew's ability to come in and land the way he wants to land. He needs to be going to the body. He needs to be landing punches to the head, and Lennox Lewis right now is very much utilizing good lateral movement, good jabs, and this is just a very, 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 entertaining contest, even though it looks like Lennox Lewis slowly is sort of coming ahead, but we will have 6 rounds after this, and anything can happen in this sport, anything can happen in this games here at Championship Boxing. Once again, I thank you all for watching Boxing Time TV. My name is Evan Jacobs. Please follow me on Instagram at BoxingTimeWithEvan. Please like this page. Please share this page with your friends. Please turn on your notifications. Let me know the fights you want to make. Direct message me. Send me messages. I'm just having a great time doing this. I think this is kind of a unique podcast. Please let me know if I'm wrong on that front. And I'm just having a great time doing it. So let's get back to the action here. As Lennox Lewis now has Tony Bellew in the corner. And although he's not landing a lot of those punches, and it's creating room for Tony Bellew to land some of his punches. And Lennox Lewis does have a cut. And if that cut turns into a gash, this fight could be stopped. And even though he's very behind, Tony Bellew could still beat Lennox Lewis. And Lennox Lewis really doing good work with that left jab. Oh, he just smashes Tony Bellew in the face. But Tony Bellew now getting out of range. We head into the final 20 seconds of this, the 6th round. It'll be a 6-round fight after this, folks. Tony Bellew is going to need to find some answers. Lennox Lewis kind of needs to keep doing what he's doing, but he's got to be careful because Tony Bellew just whacked him to the body right there. And if Tony Bellew maybe has put enough into the bank, we will see if that's if he can make it that long, how things fare in the even later rounds, the championship rounds. Tony Bellew lost that round. He's losing these rounds not just by 1 point, but by 2 points, and that makes an even harder deficit to get out from under. 19 points behind is Tony Bellew on all the judges' scorecards combined. As Lennox Lewis comes out with that left jab, Tony Bellew just looking for the openings, just wants to get in close, wants to land on Lennox, and I'm just enjoying what I'm seeing. Oh, look at that. Tony Bellew being scrappy, landing with that left hand. This is just an incredible, incredible contest. An incredible moment, an incredible battle of will. And, wow. Look at this. You know, there's a lot that Tony Bellew's doing right. He's standing close enough, but he's not getting hit. He's making Lennox Lewis throw punches. He needs to be more active. And it isn't helping that Lennox Lewis, he's just running the numbers right now, and he's getting these rounds in the bank. This is the 6th round. I'm sorry, this is the 7th round, and a lot can happen in this part of the fight. What happened in the past is prologue. So let's see what happens as we are now in the 7th round of this competitive fight. Tony Bellew is still being scrappy as ever. And it seems like he knows something. He's just extending Lewis again. We will see. But Lewis is doing a fantastic job with that left jab and those right hands. Really good lateral movement. Really good. It's incredible. The problem is I think Tony Bellew might be trying to counter. And the problem with countering is he might wait so long to counter that it ends up, he ends up losing the fight that way. So he could, survive but lose. I know he doesn't want to do that. Oh, look at that, just getting out of range. Tony Bellew just laying on the ropes. He doesn't want to be there either. I mean, that's like cannon fodder for Lennox Lewis. But Tony Bellew maybe feels comfortable. Maybe he wants to just have Lewis continue to extend himself. We will see. He's losing these rounds, but he's not doing anything. He may lose this round by 10-7. I don't think he's throwing more than 5 punches, although I could be wrong. Oh, look at Lennox Lewis controlling the pace, controlling the tempo. This is just the fight that Lennox Lewis wants. He wants just to keep Tony Bellew at bay. He wants to control the pace, control the action, have Tony Bellew fighting at his pace, be able to do things with Tony Bellew that way. Oh. Tony Bellew, though, is hanging in there. Let's see what the judges say now. Saying that both fighters are tired. Look, like I said, Tony Bellew losing that 10-7. Just these rounds are piling up. Tony Bellew obviously needs a knockout at this point. He is behind by 26 points. Oh, look at that. We now come out for the 8th round. You have Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen versus Lennox Lewis on the right side of the screen. My name is Evan Jacobs. You can find me on Instagram at BoxingTime with Evan. You're watching Tony Bellew versus Lennox Lewis. Tony Bellew just getting punches crashed into him, but he crashes punches on Lennox Lewis. He wonders, I think he's trying to test the waters. How much, letting Lennox Lewis throw all those punches, how much does Lewis have left? Lewis has shown to still have a lot left. So Tony Bellew, oh man, he's getting slammed. Give him all the credit in the world for trying. No quitting him, but he is just, this is a very tough, very scrappy fight as he lands that left hand on Lennox Lewis, and we'll see. We will see if Tony Bellew has enough to land in such a way as he's going to the body. He's got Lennox Lewis on the ropes. Lennox Lewis fighting well off the ropes. I don't see Tony Bellew really doing anything that great, but he lands a hard left hand to the head of Lennox Lewis. Oh, and he's landing more. He obviously wants to open up that cut. He wants to exploit it. But the question is, he's going to pay a price for doing so. And these two guys are going at it now. This has just been an action-packed fight. Look at Lennox landing that uppercut. How is Tony Bellew still standing after that? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Just landing and throwing his shots and trying to stay close enough to Lennox so that the shots that land don't matter. But it's a tough fight. It's a very, very tough fight for both. I mean, Lennox Lewis, it's tough for him too because he has a guy in front of him who's not quitting, and Lennox Lewis is landing these rounds. Lennox Lewis is ahead. Lennox Lewis wins a decision right now, but man, Tony Bellew is still here, and he's been hit with the kitchen sink, and he's still here. So we're gonna have to see Lennox Lewis taking shots to the head. And it's going to be interesting to see if he was able to do enough damage on that cut. Tony Bellew meeting him punch for punch, feeling that maybe Lennox Lewis is a quart low. Oh, Lennox landing that right hand. Oh man, we are in the 8th round. Soon we'll be in the championship rounds, and man, Tony Bellew just doing everything that he can just to stay in this fight, to be scrappy. And man, this is a very, very, very interesting contest as we see Tony Bellew giving everything that he has, and Lennox Lewis giving everything that he has in a true contest. And Tony Bellew seems to have a bit more spring in his step. We'll see what the judges say, although I still think Lennox Lewis gets that round. Oh, now Tony Bellew has a cut over his eye. Wow. Man, I'm telling you, we got 4 more rounds left, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's see what happens in the 9th round, as Tony Bellew doesn't do that bad, but still loses the round. Lennox Lewis up by 31 points. Oh, he's just jabbing and just wants to open up that cut. He wants to, and that's the thing, is maybe for Tony Bellew, that's kind of more of a victory of this. Hey, he didn't get knocked out. He got stopped on cuts. Going really well with that high defense. This is going to be interesting. Oh, look at that. Landing the right hand. Man, Tony Bellew just trying to land on Lennox Lewis. Man, Tony Bellew doing a very good job, although he just got cracked right there. Oh, Lennox Lewis, man, this is a tall order, a tough assignment, but he's doing his best to meet it, and oh man, he just got cracked, and it's a question of how much. Just Tony Bellew cracking Lennox Lewis. Oh, twice. Look at that. These two guys just going for it. Who will win this battle? This pitched battle in the 9th round. You're watching BoxingTime TV. Tony Bellew on the left side of the screen. Lennox Lewis on the right side of the screen. And man, Lennox Lewis is doing everything he can to kind of maybe end matters here. Maybe he wants to drive Tony Bellew into the ropes and stop him, but we will see. We will see if that's possible. Oh, look at that. Tony Bellew landing the left hand. Oh, gets cracked. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, look at that. Tony Bellew. Lennox Lewis and Tony Bellew fighting at close quarters for a lot of this fight. Much as Lennox Lewis wants to keep it a distance fight, Tony Bellew just countering now. Tony Bellew doing these cute little things, and Lennox Lewis is a smart fighter. He knows that that's what he's doing. But the thing is, it's not enough for Tony Bellew on the judges' scorecards. Maybe it's enough to open up that cut, but Lennox Lewis wants to open up the cut on Tony Bellew. So we're heading into the final 20 seconds, going into the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Those are the championship rounds, and this is going to, I am settling in. I don't think we're going to get a knockout. I think that we are going to get, it's going to kind of get a little bit technical here, and I think Lennox Lewis, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he obviously wins. If he's standing up at the end of this fight, he wins. But we'll see. Does Tony Bellew have other ideas? Both fighters are tired, and they have cuts over their eyes. Tony Bellew lost that round again. At this point, he needs a knockout. We're heading into the 10th round. Tony Bellew behind by 36 points. Oh, and just walks into two hard left hands. Makes Lennox Lewis pay for that by landing a left of his own. We're gonna have to see. These two guys are trading in the 10th round. Oh, how do they have it in them? Oh, look at Lennox. Look at Lennox's landing on Tony Bellew. Oh, Tony Bellew wobbled. Oh, wobbled. Oh, taking another hard shot. What is keeping these two fighters up in this incredible slugfest, happening at the O2 Arena? Oh, man, this is just incredible. Incredible contest by both fighters. And even though Tony Bellew is behind on points, very much alive and very much in this fight, simply because of the work that he's done early. And he is trying. He is totally no quit in him. Lennox Lewis is just doing so much. His punches seem to, he shakes Tony Bellew every time he lands. Tony Bellew, it's kind of like going into a fight with, Lennox Lewis has a bazooka, Tony Bellew has a BB gun, but man, Tony Bellew's making those BBs count. Oh, walking into the uppercut, but landing. That's another thing that I think's throwing Lennox Lewis off. He's hitting him with all these punches, and then Tony Bellew lands on him again. Scrappy, tough. Oh, look at this. Oh, crashing a right hand on him. Crashing another right hand. Wow. As we're seeing this, Lennox Lewis, doing great work, great lateral movement. And Tony Bellew is just he's blocking, but then sometimes he's not blocking, and man, Lennox Lewis is landing hard on him. Tony Bellew, he's got to go to the body more. There's more things he needs to try to be doing. Right now, Lennox Lewis winning this fight, going away, and Tony Bellew, great performance. Oh, gets rocked right there. Oh, but then he comes back against Lennox Lewis. Oh, gets rocked again. What is keeping Tony, the chin on him? The chin. This has just got to be so frustrating. Lennox Lewis, he's landing so many good punches, but it's not enough. It's just not enough. Oh, Lennox Lewis getting really good behind those jabs. Look at that. Look at that jabbing and keeping Tony Bellew at bay. Really doing everything that he can to keep Bellew from coming in and landing. And this is just, this is the kind of stuff that you like in boxing, to see a technical fight and also a fight at the same time. That's what the fans are being treated to. I hope you're all enjoying this. Wow, it's got low. Lennox Lewis crashing two more right hands as we head into the final 10 seconds of this. The 10th round will be the 11th and 12th. Anything can happen. So far, it looks like, Lennox Lewis has this going away, but Tony Bellew's still in it. Let's see what the judges say. Tony Bellew's exhausted and has a gash over his eye. Lennox Lewis is obviously tired and has a gash. I would not be surprised if we saw this bout, Tony Bellew losing that round. If we saw this bout stopped in this, the 11th round, Tony Bellew is behind by 40 points on all the judges' scorecards. And it's, what Tony Bellew was trying to do to Lennox Lewis has done to him. And we'll just see ultimately if it's enough. If it's enough. Tony Bellew had great success against David Haye in the 11th round when they had that simulation that I sadly deleted as I was uploading it. Will Tony Bellew lightning strike twice, and can he do it again against Lennox Lewis? You know, I thought there was way more of a size disparity between these guys. But, I mean, for heavyweights, Lewis, I think, was only 14 pounds heavier. And for heavyweights, I know that's not as big of a deal. Let's say, I mean, you know, if they were middleweights, that would be a much bigger deal. Still, Lennox Lewis is a big guy. Oh, Tony Bellew landing a right hand, and oh, he's trying to do those scrappy things again. But Lennox Lewis has the confidence now. Lennox Lewis feels he's just driving home a terrific performance, and we will have to see. We will have to see. Oh, Lennox Lewis, look at that jab. I mean, he's throwing a lot of punches late in this fight. The stamina on Lennox Lewis is just incredible. Oh, man. Tony Bellew landing another left hand on Lennox Lewis. Tony Bellew just trying something. He still wants to get inside, but Lennox Lewis is not allowing it. Lennox Lewis, I think, has figured out Tony Bellew's style a little bit. And Tony Bellew, when he wasn't being figured out, was in a much tougher contest. The referee stops the fight due to injury. Bellew cannot see. So Tony Bellew, moral victory, doesn't get knocked out, stays up on his feet. Lennox Lewis stops him in the 11th round. Let's see what the judges say. The winner's Lennox Lewis by a TKO. The fight lasted 11 rounds. Tony Bellew was knocked down one time and has a gash over his eye. Lennox Lewis was not knocked down and has a gash and has a cut over his eye. And as you can see, Lennox Lewis just ahead on all the judges' scorecards, 99 to 83, 99 to 87, 98 to 96. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Boxing Time TV with me on this Sunday to see the simulated fight between Tony Bellew and Lennox Lewis. Congratulations to Lennox Lewis. Great fight, Tony Bellew. Sure, we'll have you back in more simulations. Even though I hear that there's talk that you're going to retire, hopefully you do not. Although, hey, going out on the victory over David Haye, in a fight no one thought that you would win, is all the greater way to go out. Thank you once again. This has been Boxing Time TV. Please follow me on Instagram. My handle, @BoxingTimeWithEvan. Hit me up in the comments. Send me a direct message. Turn on your notifications. Tell your friends about this page. Let's get more simulated fights. Tell me fights that you want to see. Thank you very much, and we will see you at the fights.